I am guessing that many in our audience are wondering about your experience working together. Your lives as a monastic and an artist might seem very different. What did you learn from your collaboration?
I mean, they're not that different. No, they're really different. Well, here's what I would say is that I was staring down the barrel of the biggest art project of my career, and I didn't know anything about this text at all, and I was starting to panic. So I reached back out to Richard, and I was like, dude, I'm dying. You got to help me out. And he was like, oh, Mary, I didn't give you enough information. Let's get a meeting with Sister Catherine and Sister Michaela and, get to the heart of it. And I was like, all right. So we got together, and that was the very first time meeting with these guys and kind of like getting an intense cliff notes, right? Like asking these guys about the rule is like asking me about Marvel movies. They were jacked. They were so excited, and then that was what I needed. I needed like I just needed the fog to clear, and basically their excitement and the way they kind of clarified all that really just opened the doors for me. So I think that I discovered that even though we have different paths, obviously, I think that there's a ton of similarities, and I think that for the first time I saw myself in the rule of St. Benedict with some of the things you said: hard work, stability, community, hospitality. I was like, that's me, So, I think that the sisters live by the rule, and I live by my hands, carving and printing, and I think they helped me kind of slow down and listen deeper, and then figure out how cool it is, like this ancient wisdom can help guide modern creativity.
Yeah.
Mary,
Sister Michaela?
that was just a wonderful
Thanks,
experience of how we all came together in the first place. And I would say that the opportunity to be able to actually work with Mary, who was an artist, in doing something that was very special for both Sister Catherine Howard and myself, and that is making the rule available in the local area and beyond to people who don't realize the tremendous wisdom. Benedict wrote a rule that gave us the ability to live the gospel as in community, as people who chose to come together to serve other people, following the rule that Benedict did. Mary's gifts and her desire to collaborate with Sister Catherine and myself really was a witness of humility. She loves the rule. She told us that. She said she didn't understand all of it. And I said, well, that's a lifelong journey. We can both tell you that. And she was open to having us share with her those sections, those parts of the rule that would be important, to do illustrations which will illuminate the rule, very much a part of bringing it to life for so many in the area as they get to see it. Sister Catherine and I, put together, have lived by the rule for over 128 years. So she knew we had some credibility, which was wonderful. We also found it very wonderful that Richard Bresnahan came up with this project because he was very clear that he wanted women to be doing it. Mary as an artist, and Sister and I as somebody who could help her really see the great depth of the rule and what it means to us in our modern times as such. And that was unique because the rule was written for men by a man and also lived by men. It is an opportunity for us to come together to share with people how applicable it is for everybody. Mary not just asked us to tell her which sections would be important in the rules to do those illustrations, but she wanted to know why we chose them. She wanted to learn. And we really have a great dimension to both the arts as well as to learning. The arts were saved by Benedictines down through the centuries. And we also have the whole background of people who have put together how much that has meant, particularly doing scrolls. The Benedictine monk and scholar Jean Leclerc wrote a book that really summarizes what happened as Mary did the scroll, and that was the desire for learning the love of learning and the desire for God. And Mary brought that to the fore in terms of how she learned herself. Her representing that, because arts have always been so important to us, was a real act of humility. She didn't want to just do a project. She wanted to learn the depth of it. And we were touched by that humility.
Well, it's clear that you guys had a wonderful experience working together. But I'm kind of curious. So why do you think this 1,500-year-old rule of Benedict continues to resonate both within monastic communities and for all of the rest of us that aren't following a monastic lifestyle?
Benedict was a very unusual man for his time. He was born in 480, and for some reason he was invested with a great ability to understand human nature, its faults, its foibles, its glory, and its grace. He really knew what it meant to be human, particularly as we live in community, and how we need to learn from each other, forgive each other, and work together. In other words, he was a humane person. Now, the rule of Benedict, it's important to realize, is not a book of do's and don'ts. It's just a little book. It basically is really what it is told to us by the fact of the word rule. And the root word for the word rule has a connection to that word that is used for a guidepost or a railing, or my favorite, which is a trellis, something to grow on, something to be able to be supported by, to be guided by, to be knowing that you could go back to it to see how best to handle this situation. Benedict was very clear that we were to respect each other, we were to live together, and witness to the world that strangers could live together in peace and community. Benedict also brought stability to his world of his time. The Roman Empire had just fallen, and he realized that teaching people how to live together in community was the way to bring back hope and stability as such. He would not have called it what we do today, and that was that he led and showed others in the community how to lead by servant leadership. And isn't it interesting that business departments of colleges today teach servant leadership? In fact, some colleges you can even get a degree in servant leadership. This was a man who gave us what we still live by today.
I mean, I would repeat all that. But I think it's how it resonates today is just the same kind of stuff. It speaks to being human. It's not about being perfect, but about, being kind and working hard, taking care of each other, trying to stay rooted in something that's bigger than ourselves. Whether you're in a monastery or a messy print studio, we live in a world of chaos, and I feel like the rule offers calm and clarity. And even though it's ancient, it's really not outdated.
Sister Michaela, Mary, thank you so much for the conversation tonight. Yeah, appreciate it.